I removed the AC evaporator. That's the thing that's under the dash. You just take these two lines out here. Okay, take those two off. There's no bolts on the firewall side. Okay. Let me show what it looks like on the inside here real quick. Now, I took all these bolts out here on the floor. I don't know if anybody can see all this stuff, but mostly this bracket here. It's got a few bolts in there. The airbag wire goes here. I tucked it up under there somewhere. You need to get this little guy out. Once you get this guy out, no problem. There was a bracket here that I loosened up and moved this and just kind of pulled this out a little bit to give me some space so that I could move this around and get it out. As you can see, there's a hole there. I took the blower motor out. I wanted it out of the way because it needed to be cleaned anyway, but I took the blower motor out and got it loose. There's a bolt here, one there, well, a nut. One there, and there's another nut up there somewhere. I don't know if you can see it. But anyway, I got it loose, but I didn't pull it out. Okay, just got it loose. Took the screws. There was 1, 2, probably 4 screws holding that box in here. And that's it. I was surprised. It came out quite a bit easier than I thought it would. So the heater core is probably a different story. It looks like it's way back there. Yeah, that looks like her core right there. And there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not going to mess with it. But this is a wire for the temperature control bulb that goes in the fins. It's a good idea to replace that. I've seen a lot of failures on that. That's where the drain goes right here. Drain just slides into that. So let's have a look at this box. There's the sensor that goes in it. Okay. And this is what we call the evaporator. Okay. I changed the expansion valve here. This is it. That little sensor bulb has to be clipped on right there, just like that. That's how it was from the factory. We put things back the same. They spent a lot of time figuring this stuff out. Why mess with it? So anyway, it's got a bunch of screws that hold it down. It's a pretty simple deal. This thing, it's got junk all over it. There we go. Let me get this out of the way. Pretty simple deal. Pretty simple box. Goes back together pretty easily. Let's see here. Yeah, the drain goes the same way, like that. Yep. And this little guy slides on there like this. Now this particular one was busted. It had a crack in it right here. But that's not a deal breaker. So this just slides together like so. Just be careful with it. It's plastic. If it gets a crack or breaks anywhere, just get some epoxy and fix it. Big deal. I don't expect anything like that to happen, but that's something that does happen with plastic things. And you can see that this sensor wire here goes through this little tiny crack. Look at some of the videos on YouTube and where everybody peels this thing open and all that to get into it. So that's what this box looks like. I'll try to get some more video of it going back in after we get it back together here in just a minute. Alright, so there's that box sitting there. This end's going to go towards the firewall. I know it's difficult to see because of the bright light, but there's your expansion valve. It's all put together as one little clip here. One little clip, and then the other screws, all the screws face down. Okay? And that thing, you just kind of wiggle wobble it in there. Just kind of wiggle this thing in there the best you can. It's hard to do with holding the phone at the same time, but you just want to line those two holes up and slowly wiggle it in there. And it's quite a surprise. I mean, it goes in easily. There's one place here where you're going to have to manipulate this a little bit to mess with it. Don't break it off. But I loosened everything up, and I even pulled the center console and everything out thinking that I could need more space. So I don't really know what the value is of doing that. I think I could have done it without pulling all that junk. We'll just have to see how it goes. But, you know, just kind of tuck some of these wires back out of the way and wiggle that little guy up in there, and it doesn't seem like it's too hard from me just doing it just now. So just hold on a second, let me get it in. Alright, so what I did is I put my hand up under the bottom right here and guided those things in there. I don't think it's possible to see them, but guided them in, slid this guy up in there. It slid up in there really easy. Out of all the ones I've done, this one here, it's kind of a surprise how easy it was to get in there, but that's the way it is. Don't be afraid, just do it. Let's look at the outside and see how that looks there. Alright, so this side looks fine. Probably have to push those little rubber gaskets in, get them lined up. This one here kind of popped out a little bit. You can get it to show it. Sorry about that. But that's where that goes. And the drain is a little ways down there. You can't even really see the drain from here. There it is, way down there. But that's what it looks like. Everybody's working out just fine. Just remember to check all this before you start bolting things down. We're talking about plastic here. If it's in a bind or if there's any problem, you're going to ding something or break it, and it's not going to be pretty. So, just by pushing it up in position there, it sets in pretty nicely. I'm going to bolt that thing back together and call it good. So, let me get this thing to the next step and we'll see how it looks. Alright, so I got the screws in there. One here, one there, and there's one way up under there. Now I put that screw in with my fingers. I don't even think I can get there. It is. I put it in with my fingers and got it started, and then hooked it up to the driver drill here and buzzed it in the rest of the way. There's that one there. And I tell you, we're in pretty good shape the way this is looking now. I can put all that bracket crap back on here and this thing will be looking good. Now what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to connect my vacuum pump and pull the vacuum on this while I'm finishing to put it back together, because we like to do two things at one time. That's the clever way, right? Alright, so I wanted to show some of these brackets back on here. Now see, there's a metal bracket that bolts on right here. But you could probably get away with just taking this one bracket out and not all this business. I mean, you're going to have to take the center console out to get to it, but if you take this bracket off here, this gives you the space here that you need to manipulate this, to move this around. And that's what you need to get this thing out. That blocks it, and of course this thing here blocks it too. You got to take it out. I just have the nuts in there. And I didn't show it coming out, but I'm showing it going back in. I connected the airbag wire back to it like it goes. Got the blower motor on. Everything is connected. This is a thermistor right there. That's where the thermistor plugs in for the multi-speed fan control. So this is it. This one does not have a filter. I know some of the later model ones have a filter right here in this slot right here. So this one does not have it, obviously. So that's it. That's about all I'm going to show on this. The center console goes together pretty simple. It just has bolts on the sides. Just take all those bolts on the sides out. They go on the sides here. There's 4 on the back one, 4 on the front one. Kind of tricky to get to. You have to move the seats back and forth, but it's not that big of a deal. There it is back there in the back seat. I'm going to put it all back together while we're back. Anyway, take it easy. Have a good day.